Alright, welcome to the flight school part of this video where we learn how to take off and fly and the different flight modes and first person and third person flight. Let's first just start off with the third person flight, how that mechanic works. There's two ways you can get the aircraft moving in third person mode. You can simply you select the aircraft. It has to be fueled and have a pilot in it, and ours does. It still has 74 fuel in it. You double click at the end of the airstrip. You hit the E key, the space bar, and the S key, and it gets in the air, and you can have it turn. And you can follow it, moving your mouse. You can have it use the ASWD keys, and you can adjust your view using your mouse. Scroll in and out to raise or lower. And you can have it do different things. Drop a bomb. I just dropped a couple bombs. And you can change it to rockets or strafing. I'll switch to strafing now by double clicking this icon down here in the bottom right. You see where my cursor is, that's where it's going to strafe. And I'm controlling where it flies with the ASWD keys. Left, right, up, down. So S and W is up and down. S is for up. W is for down. And the scenario isn't active right now, so the Germans aren't going to shoot me down. And I can turn the fog of war off with Alt F. Now we can see the map. And so this is all in third person mode. And so I can do my weapons this way, but it's not ideal. But I can strafe, and I can find targets, and you can fly this way, but you have to control your view and the aircraft at the same time. Your view and the aircraft at the same time, which can be a little difficult. Say if I want to get this building that's in range, I can. So you have to make sure your cursor goes from red to white to make sure your strafing bullets are within range. But this isn't ideal because, like I say, you're doing two things at once. You're controlling your aircraft and your view of it at the same time. It's not ideal. So what we want to do is hit the E key. Now it's flying on its own, but it'll only go in circles unless you give it move markers. So now it's in direct control, but it's run out of fuel. If you look at the bottom here, and so it drops out of the sky. So that's the way of controlling a plane in third person. It's not ideal, but you can do it, but it's really not the way to fly in the game. Let's take another plane here that has fuel, and it has a pilot in it, so let's just quickly go to F3 so I can move it into the strip here. And I was going to mention also that I should have mentioned this in the last segment, but when you have a plane selected, you can use the Z key to change its direction orientation, and you can use, sometimes it's not seated properly on the terrain depending if it's bumpy or not. This isn't bad, but you can hold down your X key and you can gently nudge it to have it seat better on the terrain that way. So your Z key, holding down your Z key will change direction. Holding down your X key will give it, you can change its, the way it's seated on the ground, basically. So I wanted to mention that. Now, we have a new plane. Fuel isn't a factor this time. We've got a pilot in it, but we want to fly properly. So let's learn that. Let's deselect off of that. Let's go back into F1 editor mode. We're all ready to fly. Let's learn the sequence to fly in first person mode. Your plane's ready. You double click down the airstrip wherever ahead of you. So, you know, quite a few meters ahead of the plane to get it moving. So it's a double-click move. Then you go to your E key, which puts you in direct control. Your space bar puts you in aircraft mode or air mode, which will get you off the ground. And then the S key, we know, will give you altitude. ASWD keys, the S takes you up. So let's just get rolling and try this. So double click, E, space bar, S. That's simple. If you have to have the right sequence. So I'm up in the air and have enough height, I shift F. So shift F gets you in first person. And now you can fly properly. So now I W to get me a little, or S to get me a little higher up, safer, D key to move me around. So now I have both control of my weapons, the plane, all at one time, and I don't have to worry about my view because the camera's locked to the plane. So you have one huge less thing to worry about. My cursor can be moved, so my attack weapons I can move to the left or the right, using my mouse to get the cursor, attack cursor, to move. And I can change my altitude and I can turn. Also, since I don't have to worry about the camera following the plane, I can change my weapon system here using my mouse to bombs or strafing, or I can use my right mouse button to switch on the fly, go from rockets to bombs. But if I want to go into strafing mode, I have to actually click down here. So I have to double click that to get into strafing mode. And when we get into the attack segment, we'll get into how to use all these weapons. But that's how you get up to fly. And then to land, it's kind of the reverse, where you want to get lower. So you can lower the aircraft with the W key. You have to find a safe place to land, which is flat and no trees. So, and you simply get out of air mode when you're close to the ground by hitting the space bar, and then get out of direct control. So space bar will put you in landing mode, direct control, and shift F. So you go in reverse. And you use your scroll mouse to get your camera back up. So it's that sequence that takes you in and out, gets you up flying and lands you. And it's once you learn it, you can have a lot of fun in the game with these mechanics. It's just learning the process. Let's straighten them out. So to recap, you need a plane that's fueled and has a pilot. You double click ahead, get going. You have to be in direct control. You have to be in air flight mode, that's the space key, and you have to start moving upwards, which is the S key. And then you go shift F to get in first person. So that's the sequence that you need to practice. It's double click to move you forward, E, space bar, S. And then once you get some height, hit shift F and you're good to go. Let's try it again. Double click, E, space, S. Landing gear goes up automatically. Now that I have some height, shift F, and I'm ready to fly. I'm ready to hit some targets. And then it's all about knowing how your aircraft performs and turns, turn radius, which can be edited in the editor too, I believe, and avoiding anti-aircraft fire. I'm going to get up, avoid that tower. So in the next segment, we'll learn how anti-aircraft has 3 levels of lethality: low level, mid level, and high level. Flak 88 will destroy you high up, but it takes longer to lock onto your plane. Mid level can destroy you, at mid height, and low level, there's also AA, small AA guns that can hit you at that. So let's just do another landing sequence here. So we'll find a place to land again. We'll start losing height. Hit the space bar to land, E key, shift F. scroll out. There's a little bit bumpy there, but you didn't crash. And then when you're out of first person, you can use your cursor to move it wherever you want. And you can turn the engine off by hitting this key down here. So it's the little gear key down here, the engine on off. And so if you land by a airport, which we have fuel, so we have fuel waiting here. If we would have landed down there, and if we were using fuel as part of our gameplay, we would simply just, you know, go to this truck over here and grab a fuel can with one of our guys, and it refuels just like a tank or a vehicle the same way. So in the next segment, we'll talk about attacking targets and the actual air war itself.